He is the director and co-writer of the film Mona Fastvold. And the co-writer and producer of the film, Brady Corbet.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming out in this snowy weather.
I think the lights are coming out soon. We start. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming here. It all started with a hymn. You were working on a different thing, the word to come, and then you discovered a shaker hymn, correct?
That's right. The first hymn that I found was "Pretty Mother's Home," which is sung by Josephine Foster and Lark White in the film, that then turns into "I Love Mother." And I was really taken by that hymn, and I wanted to put it in the world to come somehow. And but it didn't quite fit. It didn't work in the end. But I started doing research on that hymn. And then I discovered that it was written by this woman who was a freed slave. Her name was Patsy Williams. And she became a prominent songwriter, leader, and artist in the Shaker community. And I thought, what is this community that has a African-American female leader? And someone should tell her story as well. But then the more research I did, it led me to Mother Ann Lee. And I thought her story in itself was incredible and so radical and original. And then the additional aspect that they would worship through ecstatic song and dance was just fascinating to me, and just so cinematic, and the epic sort of journey that she lived to get to this community of 6,000 believers at the height of it. I thought, well, this story needs to be told. And then I realized, first I thought that I had this was just a part of American history that I didn't know about because I'm Norwegian, and there's certain things we learn about in school and in American history, and I thought maybe this was something I just didn't know because I'm European. And then I spoke to more Americans, and then it turns out most people didn't know about her at all. So I thought I needed to lift her up and take a look at this woman, because she was pretty punk rock.
You two write together, and I understand this from the very beginning, and I've been hearing you talking about the film when you were working on it. This was always about music and movement. You don't even call it dance; you call it movement. Can you both explain a little bit how you work together and how you incorporated this sort of the movement dimension and the musical dimension right on the page?
So I do refer to it as movement because I think for me, my background is in dance. And I think that my association a little bit with dance is that it's performative. And I think for this film, I wanted the movement to always come from a place of worship and like deep authenticity, and never to be performative. So in the beginning, when we were working on the script, I wasn't even sure if it was going to be a musical or if it would have if we could call it that, because I knew that we had to approach it in a different way. In the beginning, we had placeholders for the musical segments, writing out some of the movement and and placeholders for the hymns, because we hadn't done the deep dive into all of the Shaker music yet, because Daniel Blumberg, who adapted the Shaker hymns and composed the music, he was still working on the Brutalist. So we were waiting for him to be available to start working with me. But I don't know, how did you think about it as the musical aspects, Brady?
For us, it's one of the most classical scripts that we'd ever written, and because it's a cradle to grave story, and we sort of decided on that foundation in anticipation of the musical numbers. I mean, for lack of a better term, and the initial draft of the script, it had it had certain hymns in there as placeholders. It had certain Shaker poems, certain sentiments that we felt were appropriate, a sort of trail of breadcrumbs to leave for our composer. I mean, in general, screenplays, writing scripts, it's not a particularly romantic process, because you're writing a manual. It's not a thing. I've kind of even mixed feelings about like the scripts being published,
A little embarrassing.
separately. Yeah, well, just because of the fact that it's not the movie, and it's the foundation for the movie. And the one thing that's extraordinary about the writing process is that it's a very liberated part of the process. It's you're usually not doing it with a gun to your head, the same way that editorial, there's a responsibility to turn an edit in on time for your investors, to keep the schedule, to make their money back, et cetera, et cetera. So the writing process is a very pure one for us, and it's the one time when we're sort of untethered, and we can and we're making what we like to think are the best decisions for the film, because the financial aspect is not a part of the equation yet. And so we lean on the scripts in the sense that we look back to our past selves when we were only doing what was best for the movie, versus what was what you maybe are in a position where you feel like you need to please someone else. So on the one hand, we treat it like gospel. On the other hand, it really is just a blueprint.
And there is something you said, Mona, that I really like, and it speaks a lot in the way the movie communicates it communicated to me that when I saw it, and I believe it communicates to the audience. It's like when you talk about the shake, it's like it is like they were living in a musical, and it's that organic quality that between the music and the spirituality that is very unique about the film. And I'm wondering what was the work with the actors. I think you workshopped for a while before you can, because it's not like, well, now we sing, and it's all part of the texture of the film.
So a traditional musical, you'll have the score sort of signpost, here comes the song, and then the diegetic audio fades out, and then it becomes a magical realism, sonically at least. And that wasn't right for this story at all. And it was not what I was excited about either, in terms of the movement and the music. I really wanted there to be no separation between the diegetic audio and the sonic world of the film and the music, and I wanted the movement and the music to be really working together. So we started workshopping a year in advance, working with Amanda Seyfried and my choreographer Celia Rosenhall and 25 dancers. I would start with demos that Daniel Blomberg would create, and then we would go into the studio and start working. And then I would, all of a sudden, Celia would say, I would like another breath here, because there's a lot of breath work in the music as well. Or Daniel would say, oh, these, I would say to Daniel, these stomps and these percussions movements should be supported musically. So we would go back and forth like that, always having the physical world, like even this making space in the song for the sound of Amanda's hand across the floor, or the thunder acting as percussion, and the rain and on the ship, or always leaving in all of the mistakes, all of the quivers in the voice, the breaths you take in between, all of the imperfections to make it feel urgent and true. And not polished in any way, shape, or form. And that was just something that I felt was so important, because, again, it's in all of their songs considered, they call them gift songs. They would have, moment of divine inspiration, and then a song would come, and they would start singing it. And I thought it has to feel like that. It has to feel urgent and true, and I wanted to honor that devotion. We never wanted to take her apart, or ridicule her or them, or it would
Well,
be.
she'd experienced enough of that in
Yeah.
her lifetime.
Yeah.
It's sort of, I mean, it was funny for us because we had a long conversation about the fact that the most radical thing that we could do was, to take her seriously. We're the two of us are not religious, and yet, we're living during a moment in time where to represent something on screen frequently means to condone it somehow, as opposed to just sort of let it be and look at it. It's a foundational part of our American history, especially in the Northeast. And so, for us, we're like, well, what if we just told her story the way her followers, told it. I mean, the John Hocknell acting as a weather vane is exactly what they say happened. And
That's funny. That
totally.
is, that's a moment of levity, and I thought that was okay if I could, treat the moments of drama and pain and suffering with the same, love and respect as you would a moment of levity, and then have a unreliable narrator who says maybe it happened like this or maybe it happened like so, because there's so many conflicting stories. It's doing a straight biopic about Anne Lee would be very, very difficult because there's gaps you have to fill that we don't know, and then there's just a lot of conflicting stories.
I also think you brought a contemporary dimension to me, which is not just the glorious form of the film and the music and Celia's choreography, but it's also a set of values. And again, the film doesn't hit you on the head, but her settled beliefs. It's about peace. It's about social equality. It's about craft. It's about making things with your hands. I did feel that they would resonate for young, really young generation, not as an historical, not like as an historical drama, but something that they would immediately connect to. And how did you extract those values? You just drop them in there in a way that it's not preachy, but it is, those are values. Those are important things to our life today.
Yeah, no, I think that it was important when we were writing the script and drawing this portrait of Anne Lee. I wanted everyone, ideally I wanted the audience to have the same relationship to her that I had when I was doing research on her, which was ever kind of changing and surprising and shifting, and not just one thing. So she's far from perfect, and we didn't become shakers making this, but I did really, but I was so it was exciting to discover someone who may have been America's first feminist and who fought for equality of others at that time, and to think that we do stand on her shoulders as well, and there's a direct line to her, and to me getting to direct a film in a heavily male dominated profession, and it's there's we have to
Also, all of the objects that they created that are a part of our everyday lives to this day, the potato peeler, the washing machine, it's the list goes on and on. The flat broom, which actually probably, if you were to do a little more digging, it was they were learning tricks from their neighbors, with the Native Americans in the area. So it's because they operated with a very, an open heart and an open door. And of course, it was a really flawed, ideology. I mean, there's only 3 shakers left. But
the third just joined, though, so.
Yeah, maybe it's a movement.
This 2 weeks after I finished the film, the third shaker joined. Really? And that's the first time since, I think, 78 or something like that. So,
It's had nothing to do. Zeitgeist.
Yeah, something's happening.
No, but there is something that it feels in the zeitgeist, showing a different form of leading, a way to, create a sense of a life and be inspirational to others in within your own belief, and not just piling up on others.
Yeah. No, she came to America with 8 followers and then founded the largest utopian society in American history. I mean, it's incredible. And the idea that 6,000 people decided to give up sex because they wanted to live in a place where people were treated as equal. Like that's kind of incredible. I thought that I had to make the dance and the movement pieces so intoxicating that you would see that was part of the pool, that it was also like you can also join this incredible rave, which is sort of how it was described. So that was my interpretation of it all. But I do think that that says a lot about even men at the time who would have autonomy and would probably be comfortable in their situation, but still would seek towards a place with equality for all. And that's what most people want. And that's the scary thing right now. When you see you look at the news and you think, God, like what is this place we're living in? And but we have to remember that most of us want that. Most of us want to be kind to each other.
And there is as you were saying, there is I found an eroticism in the dance, and it's really interesting the way static that you represented, the movement and the dance and this sort of collective moment of transcending, the body and compared to the way you film sex is, it's kind of an opposite thing in the film.
Yes, I think I wanted the movement
just that position.
I think the movement. I wanted the movement to wanted the camera to feel like a believer and to be pulled into it, and for the movement to feel intoxicating and not to hang back and observe them, and not for it to feel performative in that way. Every piece of movement has a bit of a story to it. That's how Celia choreographs, and that's how we were working on the movement, about sort of releasing of pain or shame, or like pulling power from above and taking someone's pain into your body. Or it was very specific, the story behind all the movement. So I think that helped with that. And then the sexuality felt like I wanted to just yes, you're right. I think it was an intuitive choice, but I definitely wanted to not romanticize it, because I would just wanted to observe that more.
But it's a point of view also.
It's the point of view, yeah, to sort of try and keep it neutral.
It's worth mentioning that Martha Graham also did a very iconic piece about seeing a lot of nodding heads, some dancers in the audience.
It's a slight nod to it. You have the
dance lovers. Noguchi did the sets, which are extraordinary. So
it's on YouTube. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's not.
Oh, right now?
Oh, amazing.
Well, know what we're doing tomorrow. Cool.
Cool. That's great. Yeah.
This film and The Brutalist are very different film, but there are parallels between the two characters, not just in their physical journey, but it's also in their artistic journey. In a way, Annalie's journey is a journey of art, and art is very spiritual in your film. Can you make a comparison or?
Yeah, we just make the same movie over and over again. It's just we thought it was so different. When we were writing it, we were just like, this is completely different. It's a musical movement piece about this woman, late 1700s, and then we started editing it. We were doing, a press for The Brutalist and putting it out into the world and talking about it. And we were like, there's even a goddamn chair. That's very important. It's like down to that. We're like,
there's a fucking chair in the new movie.
No, we just wrote in a chair in the new movie.
Yeah, but it is what
chair.
it is. They're very definitive of our life experience.
Yeah.
What can I say?
We sit a lot. I don't know. No, it's there's I think we're constantly. It's a parallel to the artistic experience, right? We're indie filmmakers. We try to make these films. They're really hard to make. Maybe maybe they'll be a little bit less hard to make, and then maybe we'll start telling different stories. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But there are parallels for sure. Yeah.
And another parallel, obviously, is the fact that you shot, almost the entire film in Europe, in different countries, with an incredible. This film looks enormous, and it didn't cost $500 million. So it's how that balances your need to be creative with not much, and what is also that a European crews and the different countries bring to your films, because they are different, and not just because it's you, but also because they have a different look, and they're rooted in different cultures.
I think it's mostly cultural. I mean, the thing that's very funny is that the culture of cinema in Central Europe, most places in Western Europe, it's just a lot richer than where the state of American cinema is right now. And it doesn't mean that it's got to stay that way forever, but as a result of streaming, I really do think that it's become something that we kind of have to fight for, and it's less sacred than it is in other places. And there is Hungary, by the way. I mean, we've shot 3 films in Hungary. It's not that cheap. It's really not that cheap. I mean, it like the first time I shot a movie there, it was significantly cheaper than it is now. But now it's a movie mecca. I mean, they shoot all of the Dune films there. Ridley Scott shoots there. And so, and it's actually been great for the local economy. And there's an amazing film school there and extraordinary artisans. Mona's European, I'm American. I would love to be making more movies in America, but there's a lot of red tape, and unfortunately, independent movies get slapped on the nose a lot more frequently than bigger productions do, because bigger productions will have a line item where they'll just pay the penalties. Like they'll just be like, okay, well, the unions will be upset, but we will just, write them a $1.5 million check at the end of the day, and they'll go away. I mean, that's not an option for us. So like we have to operate without a safety net. And we don't break rules, but of course we bend them. I mean, this film was shot in 33 days. Like it's not like our option is to either make the movies or not make them. It's not like if we could have shot this entire movie in upstate New York and it would exist, of course we would have.
Yeah, but you just can't. It's not possible. I try. I asked everyone for money who had some in Hollywood. This is the amount of money we got. It's around 10 million, and that's what we had to make it for. So we had
proposed many indecent proposals.
We did. It just didn't work. So it's the elevator pitch for the Shaker musical. It's not super sexy. So, but so you have to make but. I had to tell this story. That's how I felt. I had to tell this story, so I was going to tell it, and I was going to tell it for the amount of money that I got, and then I was going to try and figure out a way to make it fit within these 33 days. And we shot most of it in Hungary, where we could build and we could augment and rebuild on backlots, and we could build our own sets. And then we shot a section in Sweden where we could find a tall ship to shoot on.
It was docked the whole time.
Yeah.
In
then we
Gothenburg.
took another one out to sea. And then we got to shoot a little bit less than a week at the Hancock Shaker Village, which was amazing to get to shoot there and, shoot their beautiful architecture and work with them closely. But it's just very, very challenging to make independent films here and to tell stories like this about women. By women. It's hard. It's hard.
Razy, I'm going to start to open it. There's a question there.
Thanks, Giulia. Brady and Mona, thank you so much. You're both so damn inspiring. And thank you for coming here for the 3rd time in the past few months. This is really just a minor question and then a major question. I can't imagine the script when you talk of the script and showing that to a financier. How did they even read it? How could they imagine the intoxicating visual you brought us? And in that, with the choreography, how did you work with the choreographer on set? Were there set calls, or was every single set all choreographed exactly? Or was there kind of shorthand to what you asked the actors to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I did a workshop with my 15 dancers and Amanda at the Hancock Shaker Village that I shot on 35 with a couple of horses and in beautiful costume. I shot it and ended up in the movie. I did a workshop that I shot in a way so that I could use it to raise money, but also to put in the film because I didn't want to waste it. Because people couldn't read that this kind of movement and the idea that I had for the movement and the music, they just could. I don't think anyone could read it, or even if they were to listen to demos or if they would see iPhones recordings from the studio, I just didn't think it was going to communicate. So that's how we did that. And then with the movement. It was a long process. My cinematographer and my camera operator would come into the dance studio with us as well. So we would work in the studio and carefully choreographed camera movement and obviously the choreography. And then we would go and rehearse on location as well. And with the camera and the camera team, and down to like bringing in a lot of the crew as well to see how can we all coexist in this small space. So when, for example, the second dance piece, at the Townley's house when she first joins the Shakers, that piece is very, very, very carefully planned. And then same as in the woods as well. But then, of course, you have things like when you're in the woods and you have a bunch of dancers, dancing through, holes in the grounds and roots and sticks, and it's, insanely hot, and they're wearing period costumes, and and the trees are in the way of the crane and all of these things. There's a limit to how much you can prepare, even though you prepare. So you have to sort of see how you can adjust. So I had days where everything happened. You can see my iPhone sort of, video of rehearsal, and you could match it exactly how the film is. And then you have days where I had to be like, no, this is clearly not working the way we planned it, because people are just falling over themselves. But and the same on the ship as well. The ship is challenging. We rehearsed the hell out of it, and then we got there, and I had taped everything up in the studio, and I was like, this is what you have, this is where you can move. And then everybody just kept dancing all over my tape. And then we got to the ship, and they're like, there's no room. So then we had to adjust all the movement and make it a lot smaller, but also still keep the intensity and the integrity of it. Great.
It's a question there. Now, hold on, Ken. Hold on.
I have a loud voice. Thank you so much for introducing us to this amazing woman. I can't believe you mentioned Martha Graham. There was an opening last night, and you must go. It mentions Appalachian Spring and, of course, To Give to Be Simple, and has a Noguchi chair. So what synchronicity. My question is about the movement. The hymns we know, but how much do we know about Shaker movement? The beautiful choreography did it represent it? Were there films? Were you able to understand how the Shakers? I know they shook; they were Shakers, but beyond that,
there's detailed description. I would say that where I came from was if you're moving and dancing with a large group of people for, as they would, 5, 6, 7 hours. Patterns begin to form and choreography develops. So that was the sort of initial thought on the wilder, lesser choreographed moments in Manchester. And then again, we talked to our improvisers a lot about story. The same that we would talk to our improvisational singers who are in the film as well, or we worked with on the film, like Shelley Hurst in New York, and Maggie Nichols, who's in the film, who plays the Townley woman who does that incredible solo. She's like an improvisational singer. She's a legend. She's amazing. But so it was approaching it in the same way, where what is the intent of this movement? And then, you know, there's things that we could hold on to, like there's pencil drawings and paintings where you see the hand movements and some of the gestures, which I think Martha Graham had. That's, you can see that there. That's based on the research, although her piece is much later than this period. Then for me, one of the images that struck me the most early on was this drawing of the Shakers all dancing in this sort of spiral formation, men and women separated, so obviously later than Anne Lee as well. But I wanted to recreate that for the end, that specific image. And then there's descriptions in their testament about how they would shake and throw themselves to the ground, and how they would dance and move for hours at end. The night prayer, where they're saying this is the altar of love, that is from their testament as well. So there's descriptions of it. But then, of course, I wanted Celia Ralston-Holt to interpret these ideas, much like Daniel Blomberg. We were interpreting the traditions of the hymns as well. So I wanted her to have the freedom as well to just really operate from a place of what's the story of this character, what's for the movement piece for Anne Lee when she's losing her children. That was a piece where we talked a lot about movement from when we both of us had given birth, and our own experiences, and grounding that in like how she's walking, touching her back, and how she's feeling her belly and feeling where it used to be and realizing it's gone, and finding that story of her emotional journey through that piece, less so than basing it on Shaker, the Shaker movement and the hand gestures, but always bringing that in though, and always sort of grounding it in that.
It was both the movement and the songbook were, of course, initially improvisational, and then in the 19th century, especially, they turned into songs with lyrics, and it's really. There are some very, very early Shaker hymns that have been there since the beginning, since the 18th century, but they were like sea shanties because, of course, they were coming from Manchester. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that is one of their very early hymns. The first ones were wordless and much like improvisational singers. And then it sort of developed into, we messed with the timeline and brought in even architecture.
Yeah, there's electric guitars.
Yeah, well, that too. But also I brought in boxes and brooms that are from later on, just because I wanted to draw a line between the Shaker aesthetics that they use. That's most people's only point of reference to the Shakers. So bringing that in and drawing a line between her story and that felt important for the audience. But that's, we took some liberties there.
There's a question there.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for this. I did a master's thesis on the Shakers, on Shaker ritual, and I had to.
Oh no!
A long time ago. Thank you. But I had to live inside the ritual behavior for a long time, and I didn't know what it would look like on screen, and you did it just beautifully, how I imagined it to be. So it was really satisfying. And I also wanted to say the focus on Manchester, on the brutality of her life, was fantastic and so important because it informed everything. So anyway, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I thought it was so important to really show all of these births and all. It's a hard thing to decide to show on film, and whenever you decide to show sexuality or violence or the body in any way, it feels quite extreme when you see it on the big screen. So you have to really think about why you're doing it or know why you're doing it. And for me and Amanda, it felt absolutely necessary to show this in the most intimate way possible, and to really be close with her and let you experience that trauma with her as much as we possibly could, in order for us to understand how she got to where she got to, in order to follow that journey, and for us also. I mean, right now as well, like childbirth is terrifying. It's scary. And, we're shutting down maternity wings left and right. And a lot of people now have to give birth in their car because they can't make it to the hospital in time. So actually being reminded of what it's like to give birth at home without any help is important right now. So if we to show in films babies just magically appearing, from under a sheet, like clean and delightful, it just feels dangerous.
They're not delightful for at least 7 to 8 years. It takes a minute.
Yeah.
33, yeah.
Was that contiguous or 33 days over a period of time?
Over a period of time, there was 28 days that were consecutive.
Yeah. And then we had a pickup in the Hancock Shaker Village for 5 days. And then I had like my sort of pre-shoot thing kind of workshop before that.
And they were doing a lot of this when it was the Brutalist was coming out and being sold, and I remember pictures. Yeah, that's what we're doing today, all at the same time. Yeah, all at the same. There was a question right there. A hand that was.
We obviously kind of live right now in our ethics of public discourse around religious arguments in the public square are very charged, and you guys kind of skated above it, which is great, and it was beautiful. What's been the response of some of the faith communities to this? Some of these scenes could be filmed at a Hillsong, a church, for example. Obviously the clothes are different, but so I'm just curious what the response of some of these thicker faith communities have been.
So far, I have so far positive and interesting. I've spoken to people from different religious backgrounds, and the ones that have spoken to me, I don't know too much. I'm not too engaged with like the internet, and that I know what I don't know if someone's like burning the film somewhere. They might be, but I think no. So far, it's been an interesting conversation of people saying that they're talking about their own relationship to devotion and fate, and this sort of idea that she's like, I have a direct line to God, and it's my relationship to my God, and it's my relationship to the text, and the way she takes ownership of that has been something that has been sort of interesting and invigorating for the people I've spoken to who are quite religious.
And I think it's beautifully visualized from Manchester and the trip, which is incredibly dramatic, and how their vision becomes more clear when they get on the other side of the ocean and then they go north. I love all that part in the in the landscape and finding and this serenity, but it's also already a strong. It's a strength of her conviction that she finds, and it's visually mirrored in a fantastic, wonderful way. We have to one here. Just hold on for the mic, please.
Just curious about your historical choices. I think most people think of the Shakers in the early 19th century. So there's one direct reference to Yorktown, right? Surrender it. How did you make your historical choices, deciding what to include for historical context and what to leave out?
So, we did a lot of research in the years leading up to writing the script. And then once we sat down to write it, I think it really is, it becomes intuitive for me, what you include and what you leave out. Because then, unless you're making a documentary or a very straightforward biopic, it's all, once you start writing and once you start making the film, what's exciting to me is the conversation that I am having with Mother Ranley and her story, and it's fictionalized as well. Obviously, it isn't. I can't say this is what happened. So yeah, no, I think it becomes fairly intuitive for us what parts to put in and what parts to leave out, and
usually informed by some information or specific text. It's all really standing on the shoulders of a lot of other people's research as well as our own.
Too, for sure. So, there's places where we broke the rules or took liberties or merged characters or took an event that happened later and placed it now. And
We didn't merge that many characters. There's like 17 people named John.
That's true. They're all named Mary and John. Everybody was named the same, and for some reason, it's very confusing. But yes, so it's that. But it's all. I mean, to my memory, a lot of it is accurate. But I think there's like a fact-checking piece that's coming out in the New York Times soon. So check it out.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, or New York.
Electric guitars.
There is a question right there.
When you're working with all these creative elements like music and dance and film, costume, like, does one come before the other, or like, I'm sure there comes a point where you have to just make a decision on something. Like, do you then make the dance fit the music, or kind of just a little bit more about your creative process, I think?
So the music is the music is first, but what's unusual with this project is that, from what I've heard from other musicals, I haven't made a musical before, so I don't know. But on this project, we started with our demos, and then we would workshop them in the studio with my choreographer Celia Rosenhold. Then we would go back. I would go back again with Daniel and redo our demos, and then Amanda and the other actors were also part of demoing and trying out the songs and finding our way through the music as well. So it's really collaborative, unusually collaborative. And then when it comes to the costumes and the locations and everything, the costumes, we quickly realized all had to be built, handmade, and augmented so that we were able to move in them. So all of the corsets has to have very like movable, bendable, what do you call them? Bone? It's like, yeah, boning. So that all the men pants had to be, we couldn't rent the pants, for example. We had to have room for the knee protectors. And so it's everything, like all of that had to be informed by the movement. And then the locations, I wanted us to have to adjust to the location and not the other way around. So normally you would, build a great set of a boat that you would dance on because the boats are too small. But I sort of liked the challenges of having to fit this movement into places where it shouldn't be, like in the woods, on a boat, in a room with 100 candles, around you, and 200 people stuffed into it. And I thought that was exciting, like whatever would come out of these situations that weren't really made for dancing.
One more, and then it's out there, up there. She's there. So the microphone is not a fuss. It's just because otherwise we can't hear it when they're recording. So
at what point does casting consideration come into play when you're writing the film? And for some reason, it reminded me of Hair. Watching. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Amanda was first. I guess Stacey Martin, we always worked with her, so she was early on as well. But Amanda came on board early on. She came on board almost a year before we started shooting, and then we started building the cast around her. So when we were writing it, we didn't, sometimes we have someone specific in mind.
We've learned that everyone will drop out at least, 7 to 10 times. so we don't get too attached.
It takes such a long time to make the movies. It's so hard.
But Amanda was with us from the beginning.
Yeah, and stuck with us as a real partner, and was just willing to give me its endless amount of time and just like,
there is something that we can't really leave this room without commending Amanda's performance and I don't think we have ever seen her like that. And how long she was working with you on this?
Yes, she started a year in advance at least. She started with the dialect work with our dialect coach and designer, really, because she really built this accent based on research, because no one knew how they spoke back then. Tanner and Marshall, so they started working together. Then she was working in the studio with me and Daniel, or the studio with me and Celia early on, finding the movement, finding the songs, everyone on this film, almost all of the department heads started very, very early on, way before we had money to pay anybody, just working around my kitchen table. And it's the only way that we could pull this off on this budget and with this schedule. It's the only way, because they gave me all this time, and it was really special. But it was also quite wonderful, because we would all look at each other's research. There's no separation between the departments. Everybody is one big department. Everyone can reach out to anyone. It's not, sometimes I guess the director is the connects all these different people and pull them together, and then you have an individual relationship with these various department heads. But to me, it's always been so important, and to Brady as well, to just bring everyone together, so everyone has a shorthand and everyone feels so comfortable to just work together on things that so you never have the moments where it's blue wall, blue dress, it's never that. Those things never happen, because we're so in sync about the images that we're creating and what we're doing. And the same with Amanda. She was looking at our research and our pictures and our drawings, and listening to demos and trying different things with us. So when we got on set, it was just this enormous amount of trust between us. So she took big chances, and I didn't. Even at times when I thought, "Oh, am I pushing you too far?" she would say, "No, I'm going to take a step further. I'm good. I'm excited to go there." And that's unique. That's a really special thing. But that's also who she is as a person. That's all I have to say. She really gives herself to the roles that she plays, and she's really unafraid.
She's really good in The Housemaid as well. Different type of movie.
Yeah, but
she's
really
pretty
good.
Great in it.
Yeah.
Well, the way you describe the work is a very Mother Andley notion of filmmaking. So
unity and equality for all. Yes.
Yeah, so we need to finish. We have another show. I really want to thank you for coming. Thank you for making the film.
Thank you.
For having
So
us.
giving.
Thank you, Julia.
We love this cinema. Thanks for
I love
having
the cinema
us.
and this woman.